Download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
We have to be honest and upfront about what it is that you want, and then it's also in that piece of talking about your expectations.
I'm afraid he's henpecked. I always say there's nothing wrong with henpecked as long as you peck like it.
Saturday, everybody. Thank you for joining the Ril Inspired Word on WVTC. I am Bishop Sherman Henderson, the senior pastor of Revival in the Land Missionary Baptist Church, located 9134 South on Cottage Grove.
And good morning, everybody. I am Minister Marquise Holyfield. Super excited to be with y'all on this beautiful Saturday. God has blessed us with another beautiful, warm summer day.
Definitely.
And we're just happy to be here. We got a fun-filled show for you all today. It's just a lot going on. So we have our new segment where we bring on different business owners and entrepreneurs to talk about their business. So we'll have that today. We'll have our in the news, and we got a lot to talk about. Tyreek Hill incident. We got football to talk about. We also got the presidential debate to talk about. Just a few things. And have our relationship conversation. Today's question is all around like, what is it that men really need, and what is it that women really need in a relationship? So we'll talk about that today. We're just going to encourage you all throughout the day. So we're super excited.
Yeah, I got a good show on tap for today. Excited. I wore my end of summer shirt. I am praying that we have Indian summer. It's 80 degrees outside, and I know that it's a nice day to get out and be out and about. Just want to give you a couple of notes that we at Revival in the Land have. We will be having a couple of events coming up. We have a comedian coming up. We're going to be doing a show in second week of November. Yes, and we're going to have a comedian out for that. I will be in New Jersey, right? I'll be in New Jersey, October the 18th. 11th? Is it 11th? Okay. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff going on in Revival in the Land. And we pray that you tune in with us tomorrow. I'm going over to Pastor Moore's church. So if you have the opportunity and you want to meet really good people, Pastor and Lady Moore are great friends of mine, and we're going to celebrate with them on their pastor's appreciation. So we'll be talking about appreciating pastors.
Yeah, so we're super excited. And don't forget, women's ministry at Revival in the Land Missionary Baptist Church kicked off last week. And then this week we had a phenomenal women's ministry. We are reading the book, When Women Pray, 10 Women Who Changed the World Through Prayer. When I tell you it was a dynamic study, we just growing in the Lord, just sharing our experiences and being that iron sharpens iron for each other. But, having those real moments where God has given us our aha moments, where he is using us, helping us to use the practical skill as we are learning.
So what was this week about?
So this week's chapter was all about Hannah.
Okay.
And so, and it was good. We learned a lot about Hannah. We learned that Hannah was one of the 4 women in the Bible that's mentioned that could not have children. We learned about Hannah's persistence. We learned about understanding what God meant when he said he remembered her. Not that he never forgot her, but he remembered her, which means at that moment, he said, okay, I'm going to bless you.
All right. So join the women's ministry.
Join the women's ministry.
Okay. We have an exciting guest today, I understand. Yes. A return guest.
Yes, a return guest.
Okay.
So with us today, we have CEO of Grown and Rich, Mr. Sadan Long. I can't talk today to y'all, but Sadan Long. Sadan.
Hey, Sadan, how's it going today?
Hey, Bishop, how you doing? Thank you for having me back.
Oh, man, you always welcome anytime.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be welcome.
Yeah. So we have Sadan on today, so I'm going to have Sadan talk a little bit about business and like how God gave him this business because it was from God. Because like many of other of us that were entrepreneurs, we started somewhere else, and then God said, "Okay, let's do this." So, God, tell us all about it.
Well, let's get some agreement on some things. Now, the Bible says that God is going to give us witty ideas and inventions, right?
Is it it?
Okay, so that means that there are literally people sitting in these pews that are having things downloaded into their spirit that are supposed to get out into the earth.
I'm one of them. Guilty.
Okay, so now the question becomes, how do we get them out? You know, I mean, you look at Elijah and Elisha. You look at Jesus and the disciples. You look at Timothy and Paul. I want to call him Saul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to call him Saul. But you look at Tim. So there's always been these coaches, teachers, trainers, developers throughout the Bible that helped people get their gifts and talents sharpened.
Okay.
Now, for some reason, when we go to business, we throw all that out. You know, I'm gonna start a business, and now instead of finding people who have a pedigree and a track record, we just try to do it on our own. And when we're not doing it on our own, typically, you know, we end up in these situations very similar to Jesus. You know, Jesus comes out of the wilderness, he ready to go, and then here comes the devil to tempt him.
He always busy. Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
know, so same thing with us. We done saved this money. We done work really hard to put ourselves in a position to carry out this mission that God has given us. And then here comes some marketing person or some leasing agent or some branding person who's promising you the world. Okay. But at no point are they ever telling you how you going to get your money back.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yep. I can agree to that, Saddam. Yes, sir.
You know, I look at, you know, when the rich man, you know, when, you know, he told him to sell everything. And he was sad. Yeah, I got to sell everything. Yeah, you got to give me everything. Okay. But then the response was, no man has ever not reaped in this life
Come on.
and the next.
Right. That's right.
Come on now. You ain't preaching now. I ain't now. You preaching.
And the next. So
put you up tomorrow. You come through tomorrow.
So what Grown and Rich is about is your in this life. You know, Grown and Rich is about, okay, you want to have a business, because how do we judge businesses? We judge businesses by their buying power. You know, is it providing you with a good life? Can you buy a car? Can you buy a house? Can you buy a plane ticket to go see your son play football? Like, that's what your business is supposed to provide. And that's how we judge it. So if you can't do any of those things, you don't have a good business. You know, and businesses operate very much like churches. It requires people coming in that need to be converted.
Okay.
You know, a church with no congregation, how long is he gonna last?
Not
long.
Okay. So a business with no customers,
Not long.
Okay. But we focus on building tabernacles without doing any of the work to fill them up. You know, so you have to fill up your business the same way you would have to fill up your church.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, so now when you're sitting down with a marketing person, you're sitting down with a brand person, the question becomes, how are we going to fill this place up? You know, how are we going to fill it up with people who believe in us, who believe in what we believe in, who are willing to sacrifice some of their hard-earned money so that we can carry out our mission? But it's not built like that. And I know from my own experience, when I first started out, man, I was spending money on radio time. I was spending money on t-shirts. I was spending money on books. And at no point did I realize I can't make a living if all my money going out and none's coming in.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A real similar experience. Absolutely.
So now I had to figure it out for myself. And then there's a nasty little secret that 8 out of 10 business owners don't have any employees. And 78% of those people are doing less than $50,000, which works out to about $15 an hour. So not only do they not have any employees.
I'm sorry. That was one part. You said that what's the percentage of people that have no employees?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay. Wow. Okay.
You know, so the sister that's baking the cakes, the brother that's doing the day trading, the woman that's doing the makeup, the eyelashes, that's got the book that she's got out, that's doing the life coaching. They don't have no employees.
Yeah.
So you're the salesperson in those situations. You're the promotion person. You're the person who has to do all this stuff.
Mhm.
But if you go back and you look at Christ was studying at 12.
Mhm.
So by the time 33 came around, he was skilled.
Right.
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 How long can you really say you've been working on your sales skills? How long can you say you've been working on your marketing and your promotion
Mhm.
to where you could say you're skilled enough to do this for a living?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So now you go into something with a great idea that God wants to see flourish, but then the devil gets between you and the flourishing with all of these marketing people who you don't vet properly. You look at Jesus and Peter. He said, "Well, who do men say I am?" That's not me telling you who I am. Who do people say I am?
Right.
Right.
So you have to vet properly. You have to be able to say, well, what are people saying about this person that I hire? What are people saying about these people that are trying to get me to sign up for their programs? And we don't do that. We just let people say sweet things in our ear
Mhm.
that sound good, and we give them our money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now,
relate to
go
that.
ahead.
I was gonna say I can definitely relate to that. I've had people I was looking for grants for, and all of them at the end of the day wanted to sell me a book so that I can do it. And I'm like, nope, I'm looking for somebody skilled at grant writing. So
Right.
I get what you're saying.
All right. So that's why Grown and Rich exists, because there's only really four things that businesses run around. They run around traffic, being able to convert that traffic. Now, traffic is just people,
Mhm.
being able to take those people and turn them into customers. And then the other two things are pricing and churn. Pricing is just, okay, can I do this at a price where I'm gonna make enough money to be able to feed my people, to be able to hire a few people, to be able to save a little money, so when the winter time comes, like the ant I've gathered in the winter, in the summer, so that I can cover my heating and lighting and all those things, you know. And then churn is just being able to keep them longer. A lot of our churches are not built on new members. They built on the fact that they had some members that never left.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if those members start to die off, then the church starts to dwindle because it's hard to get new ones.
Mhm.
So that's why I exist. So when you talk to me, when you sit down with me, I want to know what your revenue goals are. And I want to show you how, when you invest in me, we're going to recoup. Because if you don't recoup, then you can't take that money and spend it on anything else. If you invest $100 and that $100 doesn't come back, that's just money gone. But you're talking about saints investing thousands of dollars and have nothing to show for it at the end of 18 to 24 months.
Mhm.
So that's why Grown and Rich exists. That's why we're doing Beat Black Friday in October, so that we can give you a head start on getting customers before the big boxes start running those commercials, before your timeline get flooded with a bunch of Amazon ads. Because I want to give people the opportunity to get it from somebody who's done it and knows how to do it. Because if you say, okay, well, what's a good marketer? Okay, somebody who has generated revenue. Okay, I've generated revenue now for clients up into the 8 figures. But if you are only doing the $15 an hour that the average small business owner is doing, how are you going to afford someone like me?
Mhm.
So we literally built a program for them. Like, okay, cool. I'm going to show you everything that you need to do. Literally, like 95% of the work is going to be done by me. And all you got to do is follow it. Similar to the Bible in the sense that it's already laid out for you. Now you just got to follow it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your program. What is your program?
Well, Grown and Rich is created, Beat Black Friday, which is, we're going to show you how to get customers without using the internet
Without
to
you.
get them, without using the internet, because people run to the internet as though them people know them. But we overlook all of these people that know, like, and trust us each and every day. So now you're going to put out a bunch of posts to strangers that the internet is then going to say, well, we might show 5 or 6 of those people something. And if 5 or 6 of those people like it, then we'll show another 5 or 6 people. Unless you give us some money. Now, if you give us some money, we'll boost your ad.
Okay.
Okay. But still, how much money do I got to give you just to get people to see it one time?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. But if you know what to say and you know what to do to then reach out to the people that God has put around you, the people that you've been going to work with, serving on committees with, spending time with, went to college with, and you know how to ask them the right way for help, they'll help you. You know, but the majority of people who have a business, can't nobody tell people what they do or the value of what they do.
Okay.
You know, it's like, okay, well, I'm a pastor. Okay, but it's a bunch of pastors. What makes this one in particular better than the other ones for you? That's where the difference comes in. So we're going to teach you how to teach your friends how to now go out and evangelize for you in a business sense. You know, how to go out and find your ideal customer for you. So when they're at work or they're at the gym and somebody says, man, you know, I've been really struggling with this pain in my leg. Oh, I got a friend. She does, you know, physical therapy. Or, oh, girl, you know, my son's birthday's coming up. Well, guess what? I got a home girl. She makes cakes from scratch. She does birthday cakes. She does cupcakes. So now when these people are out and they're encountering people, you have your business lined up and organized well enough through the training that you've been given to now it's easy.
Okay.
You know, it's simple. It's like, oh, I got a friend who does that. Because when you know what the person does, you refer people 40 going north.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you know that is good, you refer people 40 going north. But most people have never worked on that skill, so they don't know how to ask. You know, you hear people say, I'm a coach. And then when their friends are out and people say they need coaching, they're like, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she might coach women. Well, I mean, does she coach kids? I don't know. You know, so God is giving you these people, and these people can't get you where you need to go because you're not using them right. So we want to show you how to use them. And then when you actually get a customer, we're going to show you how to keep them. Because keeping them, just like with the church, is extremely important. Yes. If you got to get 100 new members every year, how are you going to sustain the missions that you've been called to execute? Absolutely. You know, if you can't go from month to month knowing who going to be there, who not going to be there, who going to serve, who not going to serve, who going to donate, who not going to donate, how do you effectively run anything?
No, it's very difficult, especially in church, you know, because church is so it's donor based and it's based upon people who contribute, and most people in the church are volunteers. So yeah, it's really difficult.
And most businesses are donor based too, whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah, it is. Look, I'm a business owner. I know it is.
I'll be with you all league one of these days. God's gonna bless me.
I mean, but one of the things I can attest to the things that Sadan is talking about as a new entrepreneur, been in the business less than a year. Some of the different skill sets that he was giving me. Certain things he'd be like, well, why don't you couple this with this? And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. It's simple stuff, y'all. It's really, really simple stuff. You know, I'm a jewelry designer, so I design jewelry, but I'm also an author. And Sadan was like, okay, so you talk about relationships and how to have healthy relationships and how for them to remind them their marriages there again. He was like, so you got jewelry. He said, why not include a jewelry piece with the book? If you buy a book, you get a necklace or the bracelet. So when you go on that first date, you got your confidence. And I was like, oh, I ain't thinking about that. It's simple things. And like, he was like, email your, you know, I'm not gonna get all the secrets, but he was like, email your friends. And he was like, and then market to them and say, well, if you know somebody, share my information. And it's simple, different things that you can do to really do it. Like he always tell me, you got to be ready to work, but just like you know, with the body of Christ, you got to be ready to work. You can't be a pew Christian, and you can't be you know, sitting behind your computer and expect your website to do it for you.
Or just stick your sign out the front door and be like, okay, now all this business coming. There's my sign. the world knows that I'm there, or just put a post on Facebook. It takes that leg work. And so, Sadan, how does a person get started? I mean, I don't want you giving, I don't want you to give your 7 herbs and recipe secret away now, but I do want to know, how does a person go about trying to structure their network, and how can you assist them with that?
Well, the first thing, anybody who wants to start a business or is in business, we want to talk about the problem we solve. Because if there's no problem, there's no need for a solution.
Okay.
When people are hungry, what do? They go get something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
When they got a pain, they go to the doctor.
Yeah.
When the gas hand on E, you go to a gas station. So everything starts with something. Jesus says, I came that you might have life and have it to the full. So obviously they wasn't having life to the full. So there has to be something to be delivered from. So if you are struggling to get promoted on your job, okay, you're having problems, can't pay your bills, don't know how you're going to retire, don't know how you're going to put your kids in college. But if I can then now show you how to turn this gift that God has given you, even if it's just making cornbread, into a business, now you can use that to pay your taxes and live off the rest.
Yeah. Okay. So grown and rich. How did it start? How long ago did it start, and what inspired you to start it?
Yeah. Well, Grown and Rich, we've been running maybe, I guess, 4 years now. It's literally what people want to be. People want to be adults who don't have a boss, who don't have to call and cough and fake tears. What do we walk around saying? At this big old age, I'm grown. So I want to give people back their freedom.
Okay.
The freedom to, if you want to be a part of an organization that takes a trip, that you can go without having to, well, I got to check and see.
Right.
God gave you the gift. He said that you would be free, said you'd be free indeed.
Yes.
But if you still got to go to work and you got a boss and they telling you can't go, how are you free? Because we have the gift.
Yeah, you're in bondage basically, because you can't move or do what you want to do.
Right. And then and I know network marketers say this all the time, job is just above being broke. But the reality is when you look at inflation and you look at student loans and you look at what it costs to have stuff, you can't quit.
No.
You can't quit, because milk $4 and eggs is $4 and gas is $4. And you got people to feed, and you got family members who need you. Like if you're in our age group, you maybe have an aging mother, or a father who needs medications or who's on a fixed income, and they're looking at you to be an assistant of some kind, whether with your finances or your time. But if you always at work, how you helping them? Who's taking them to the doctor? Who's seeing about them? So these things are real things. So the grown part is just that. How do I become a real contributing adult? And then rich is real income creating happiness.
Okay. I like
real income creating happiness.
Okay. All right now. I'm gonna have to, if you hear that in tomorrow's sermon, you can just
go forth. do what it's supposed to do. Because nobody came here to be broke. Nobody came here with the idea that I'm just gonna be the downtrodden my whole life.
Right.
And the only thing that's really keeping us from doing is lack of understanding. So if I can show you how to understand the fact that, hey, number one, you need to get a list of people that you can talk to about what it is that you do who will listen. Number two, you need to know how to turn those people into customers. Number three, you need to know how to charge enough so that they get a benefit for what they pay for, and you get enough money to pay your taxes and live off the rest. And then number four, you need to know how to keep them. That's it. Those are the four things. So and you can go ahead.
How do people contact you? Are you having seminars around? Is there a website you can refer them to?
Well, you can go to grownandrich.com. It's right there on the screen.
Okay.
And it sounds just like it says, grownandrich.com.
Okay.
And
You know,
our wonderful engineer is about to bring up the flyer for your seminar.
exactly.
Oh,
All
good.
you got to go there, click the fast cash button on the website.
Okay.
And not only will you get the link to the webinar, which is on the second, but you'll also get a free ebook that is called How to Retire After on One Property. And that's a book that I co-wrote with Dwayne Ransford, who's a real estate mogul, roughly at this point, probably got almost 300 doors under his management, and one of the richest black men in the country. So there's a free ebook that comes, and the seminar, webinar, training, whatever you want to call it, the help that's on the way. You click that link. I'll send you the link. It's $69. And literally, if you don't do 3.5 times more than the $69 you spent before January 1st of 2025, I'll give you your money back.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Well, we definitely are gonna have to get some down back here.
Yeah, we're going to definitely have to bring you back.
I'm gonna go January 2nd, the January 2nd program. Because I'm gonna get the program. Man.
Yeah, I'm a, he already know I'm gonna be in the class because we need to boost some sales, but and we'll definitely have testimony about what God has done.
Absolutely.
And that's all I want, man. I literally want people to be who God has called them to be, because those are the people who sit in the pews.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
second is what day of the week?
I think what day of the week is that, Don? I think it's in the middle.
that's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Okay. October the 2nd. Yep.
Yeah.
I will be on. I am going to book. I am going to be on, and I will give it a
Thank
shot.
you.
And because definitely we like to support our guests and,
Yes.
and the value that you bring to the community. Because one of the things that this show is all about is connecting people with God first, to each other second, and then to the community. And so we thank you for being on our show today.
And I thank you for allowing me to be on. It has been a blessing.
Yes.
Anytime. You're welcome anytime.
Anytime.
So you have an open door welcome anytime. If you want to send us anything you're doing, we'll be glad to put it up for you and help you promote. We like to support our friends. So
Okay, well, thank you very much, Bishop.
Brandon, you're my friend as well.
Exactly. And make sure you go out and get Happy Life too, by the way.
I got
Yeah, see, that's right.
I got a copy, and I gave a friend of mine a copy.
Engineer can put that up too, because we got that image. You know what?
Yeah, I got a copy, and I gave my friend one. I believe, did I give my daughter one?
No, not that. That was the first book. Not this one. You gotta give.
Yeah, Happy. I read it, and it's really a good book. It really talks about relationship and finding yourself and love without compromise. Wow, powerful.
Yeah, it provides.
Well, Bishop, I think marriage is making a comeback. So, we got to get these men and women, get them ready.
Absolutely. Marriage is definitely honorable.
Yes,
definitely.
And it's making a comeback.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you again, Sadon, for coming on. Thank you.
All right.
All your support. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great one. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Bye-bye. All right, you all.
That was I will be on.
Yes. Like I said, if y'all see in this season, like I said, God really touched it on our heart to really promote business, because as we go into this new season, this next season, God wants us to do what he said is we called you to do, that we wasn't going to be in a lack. There's nothing missing, nothing broken, nothing lacking in our lives. And like you said, we perish because of a lack of knowledge. And if we can bring knowledge and opportunities and for people to be able to grow and develop and seek different things and, walk out on faith. It was a faith walk for me to walk out on faith. And, it was like I was unemployed. And it was like, okay, God, what are we doing next? And God used my own talents to be able to bless me to be in business. And, you can be able to do it too, if you just trust God and have the right tools and the right team behind you to be able to motivate you and push you down.
And I often say that if you can't find a job, create your own job. Yes. We do have that ability in America. And sometimes God will put us in those transition periods and where he will be in the wilderness, and that wilderness ultimately leads us to our promised land. That's Israel. So what do we got up next?
So, all right, y'all, we got to talk about in the news. So, there was a couple things that didn't happen this week. So, first thing, we're going to talk about the presidential debate, because I know it's going to take us the longest. But so this week, y'all know it was a presidential debate. And it was dynamic in many ways. And then it was also like,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen somebody cuss somebody out without cussing somebody out?
yeah, she did.
I
But you
was
know
like,
what?
oh my God.
This is the thing I was going to say. I was excited for the debate because I really wanted to see how Kamala was going to do. You know, I've seen Trump in the debate
9 out of 10.
before, so I kind of knew how he was going to proceed. I was also curious to see how she was going to use her wisdom, her knowledge, and her skills as a prosecutor to be strategic and showing people who she was and what her strengths were, but also what were some of the weaknesses that Trump's area. And so it was interesting to see how she did that.
Can you
And
give me an example?
well, when because she got him off. Her key thing was she got him off his game.
Yeah, she got him.
When everybody was waiting for him to talk about policies and so forth and what he was going to bring to the table, he kept talking about, I'm not president yet. And then so it's like, well, don't you have a plan?
Right.
She kind of already kind of bust him out that he didn't really have a plan and what he was going to do.
And then he was running on problem. The one that got me when she threw him off, and she must have studied it when she talked about people leaving his rallies early.
I know.
That rattled him.
Yeah, it frustrated him but she did her homework. Mm-hmm. Now, the flip side to it is some people love that piece. They loved, the debate between them. But some people really have said, I've heard feedback that said they wish that they would have stuck more to policies and issues, more in detail, providing more detail what it is that they were going to do versus the jabbing. The jabbing.
I agree, because I said that. That's why I only gave her 8 out of 10. But I think the goal there was to change the narrative, and I think she did that effectively. Now he's the old man who seems out of tune, right, and eating cats and dogs.
I know, that was just, and then when he talked about, he changed it from Black jobs to African American jobs, and it's just like, come on, I need you to do your research. It's like, you can't say that people who are immigrating to this country are going to be taking away Black jobs. And when people say, well, what are Black jobs? And then you'll say jobs like, teachers and service industry and so forth. But that's everybody's job. I don't know just Black people that are teachers. I don't know just Black people who are in the service industry. I know a multitude of people who are in all those different industries. And so we need to be very cognizant of it. But one of the things that I said to one of my friends who was like very upset about, like, somebody, she said in her friend base, they were saying like, oh my God, we doomed. And I was like, no, we're not doomed. I said, but we have to, as I tell everybody every week, well, because of the fact that they didn't really talk about their policy. She kind of talked about some of the things that she was going to do, but not in a grave detail. Mm-hmm. And so what I told them is, this is why we as the people of God, but also the people of the United States, we need to study and show thyself approved. We have to go read. She put out her economic plan way before she even got on the debate. And I know some people wanted her to go in detail. Well, I'm going to do X and Y and Z, and this is how I plan to do it, and so forth, in many ways. And I know that's what people are looking for. But you also have to start to go do your own research. And then one of the things that she said, well, it's a lot of policies. That's a lot of wording. I know, but we have to force ourselves out of our own comfort zone and start to seek the information out.
Right. And see, here's, like I said, when I talked about who's advising him, because I look at politics just as sports.
Don said, it was hard for him to watch.
Yeah, exactly. When I think about politics, I look at politics as games. I'm not on either person's side. I am going to vote for a person, but that's going to be my personal vote. I just say that one of the things that he failed to do that he generally does well is speak to his base. And I don't think
he didn't do that. Yeah, they talked about he could have got her. They said that he was more knowledgeable about the economy. He was more.
Let me finish, please. So when what he did is he allowed her to get him in that exchange back and forth. Whereas I think who's coaching him, he should have known that, and he should have been able to redirect back. And who in the world told him to talk about dogs and cats? And then you have his running mate out there the next day goes out and says that the plan for people with children and taking care of children and child care is for grandparents to take care. That's the assumption that they have grandparents.
I know.
So I think that they just came unprepared. He thought he could do it off of the cuff. And I think that the polls are showing that hit him pretty bad.
Yeah, and like I said, one of the things I was saying, sorry, Bishop didn't mean
No,
to interrupt you.
that's fine.
But one of the things I'm saying was like the other thing was they were saying that he could have got her on some economic pieces because that's one of his strongest strengths is the economy. But he never addressed that. He never addressed the economy. He could have talked to her about some of her immigration policies. He never addressed any of that. He addressed the roundabout and so forth. And I think
eating dogs and cats. I mean, that one just stuck with me because
and then when the commentator kept saying, "Oh, that's not true." Like, that's not true. We've spoken to the people in the area that you're talking about. There's been no record of that. Where are you coming from that? He just would not get off of it. And it was just like unprepared. And it was interesting. If y'all noticed right afterward, former, I think he was Chris Christie. I can't remember what state. Yeah, New Jersey. He was the former governor of New Jersey. And he talked about that. He was like, he said, whoever prepared Trump, they need to be fired because they did not prepare him. He said that he came out sloppy. He came out unprepared. And
it's like he just showed up. It's like he's like, oh, I got a debate tonight. I'm going to show up. Because he's still trying to run against Joe Biden. Joe Biden. And here's my belief. Okay, so this is my belief. I have not 1 ounce of iota of proof to it. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I believe Joe Biden was never running for the second term. When he first got elected, he said that he was a bridge to the future, right? I believe, in my humble opinion, that he suckered Trump in with the bumbling Joe. And I believe after the election, Joe Biden's going to get really sharp again. I believe he baited him in. And I also believe that Kamala was being prepared all this time for this because she's just too sharp.
Yeah, she's super sharp. And we have to think about the fact that I kept telling people that he had been preparing her anyway, because of the fact that if you notice, she was out and about during the presidency, but she wasn't out and about during the presidency. She was almost like in hiding. So I think that they have been grooming and preparing her. And the one thing I would say about JD Vance that I think we need to be mindful of, even with him, is just like, unfortunately, when they picked y'all, they did not do a good pick because
one-term congressman, you're gonna pick. You got all that bench, right? You got you. I mean, I just knew, for instance, I just knew that he was going to take Governor. Oh gosh, I forget her name. Nikki. I just knew it. It was like a layup. It's like, okay, but the person you need to pick is Nikki Haley. She's going to bring in the women vote. She's going to bring in the Christian vote, and she's going to bring in the traditional Republican vote, because what the problem Trump is having is that he's got his base, that 33% locked in. But where he's losing, he is hemorrhaging traditional Republicans because they would rather have the infrastructure and structure than the craziness or the circus that he brings.
Right. And I think that piece, but we also have to think about, and again, I'm only going by the character, what he's demonstrated. So this is Marquis' opinion versus what I've seen in his character. His character is he does not have a whole lot of respect for women. And so when you put a woman, strong women, let me phrase that, he doesn't have a lot of respect for strong women that have this piece that will not agree with him. And so when you don't have people around you that necessarily want to agree with you around you to give you that different perspective, as what Kamala said that she's looking for, having a Republican in her cabinet, because she wants to have that different perspective. She wants to have that bipartisan. She wants to not just look at her purview of the way she sees it, but she wants to see it from the purview that she doesn't quite understand, but somebody on her team to be able to be like, well, did you think about it this way? And then see it from a different viewpoint. And I think that's the thing that's really hurting his campaign across the board, that he is not in that open space.
Right. He's not adding anybody.
He's not adding anybody. And then and it clearly shows that Vance's camp and his camp, they don't talk to each other.
They don't talk to each other.
They don't talk to each other at all, because of the fact that Trump will say something and then Vance will say something else. And then when somebody will bring them on with your vice president candidate said this, and then he was like, oh, I haven't talked to him about that. Well, it's just like, well, how are y'all out here campaigning when y'all not communicating? So that just clearly shows what might happen if you get in the White House.
And if you can't manage a campaign, how can you manage a country?
Yep.
Right. If you can't get on the same page with your own running mate, how can you get on the same page with a cabinet and cabinet secretaries that have to run the country? There's time. So he has time to make up, and he can make up some ground because he's, we know that the race breaks down to Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina's in play, which is crazy.
I know, which is never when before it had never been in play. So I think,
and then you got Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. She wins 3 of those 4 states. She's president.
I know. And so it's just something for us to just be mindful of. Again, me and Bishop say this every week. I'm not telling y'all who to vote for. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just pointing out
one
the different.
Is better than the other.
I mean, well, but again, I'm just like y'all.
We're being nonpartisan.
We're being nonpartisan. So again, I want you all to study and show that self-approved. Please go out and do the research. Look at the policy. Look what their plan is on healthcare. Look at their plan is on immigration. Look at their plan on the economy. Look at their plan on housing. Look at their plan on taxes. If you got to Google it, Google it. If you got to get on the New York Times newspaper and look at it, because they give very detailed information about different stuff.
And I think that's what I was saying to slip my mind, is that normally Trump is really good at doing canned messages, using simple terminology and short language to hit home with people, right? I didn't see that. As a matter of fact, I've looked at some of his speeches and rallies and things like that, and it's all about him.
Yep.
He needs to turn the race back. If he wants to win, he needs to turn the race back into the issues and what he can do, because, there was some things that the business sector liked about him in his first term, right? There was some strength that he had. But I think that he needs to get back on point, back on message. And I think that he is being baited into running on Trumpism. And I don't think that'll work.
Yeah, I think this is not going to work. I think we're dealing with the economy that we're dealing with. Some of the same things that Shadon talked about. We're dealing with inflation. We're dealing with people.
Inflation is down to 2.5%.
I know, but eggs are still $3.77.
Well, but I mean,
a dozen.
It's a long run. Let's say, I'm just saying, as a nonpartisan and a politician, we knew we were going into a recession, but that recession didn't happen. Housing is about to pick up. Interest rates.
I was going to say interest rates are actually down. They're down to
housing sales are up. First-time home buyers are coming back to the market. And we're seeing for the first time in about 9 months that existing home sales are going up. So there's an uptick with this economy.
Yeah, it's coming back up. Yeah. But it's things that we need to be mindful of. And so, as we say, in the news segment, we'll talk a little bit when we talk about football at the end. Our good friend, Tyreek Hill.
Oh no, bro, we can talk about that. That was crazy. So you want to tell them what happened?
Okay, so if y'all did not know, so Tyreek Hill was running late for last Sunday's game. He knew he was driving too fast. He did a huge U-ey in the play, turning into the players' lot or players' driveway or whatever it is. He got stopped by the Miami-Dade police, and he was like, he rolled his window down. He gave him his driver's license. And then he was like, okay, y'all, come on. Can you give me my ticket so I can go? I'm running late. I got to, get on the field. And the Miami-Dade police, and then he rolled his window back up. And then the police officer was like, well, you need to roll your window down. First, he told him to put a seatbelt on. So then he put a seatbelt on. And then he told him, well, you need to have your window rolled down. He was like, and the guy was knocking on his window because he rolled his window up with his license plate. He said, don't knock. He said, please don't knock on my window. He don't knock on his window. And I get it. It's an expensive car. So he didn't want no dents, no scratches, no anything on it. So it got to the point where the Miami-Dade police was like, okay, you need to get out. You need to get out. You need to get out. So Tyreek's like, okay, 1 second. Because he had just did what the officer said. Put a seatbelt on. So he take a seatbelt off. And then the way his doors go, the doors go up. So they don't go out. they go up. It's like a Lamborghini. So he had to, wait for the doors to go up. The minute them doors went up, they took him out the car, dragged him to the ground, and he was like, hold on. I just had knee surgery. Can you please be careful with me? So then they had him face down on it. Then they set him up, and then he was able to sit on the curb after that. And then, so he was detained. Of course, people was videotaping it, body cam videotaped it, and so forth.
And my whole thing in that, so I'm hearing it, right? So as I'm hearing and processing this, one of the things we try to teach our young people is how to de-escalate situations.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tyreek Hill is a multimillionaire. When they see the driver's license, they know this is an average person.
Exactly.
It's Tyreek Hill. Let them, talk to the guy, let him go. I mean, because the whole
I'll be like, dude, I'm gonna have your ticket for you when you come out.
And that's my point. The whole thing is that the punishment is not fitting the crime.
Right.
I'm seeing situations where other people in other communities are literally not complying with the police, resisting arrest, and they get the utmost respect. Now, he did a couple things. He shouldn't have rolled his window back up, right?
Yeah, but he said he didn't know that.
Right. He shouldn't have rolled, but we teach our kids the 10 things things to do when stopped by the police. Somebody should have told him being a millionaire, he's driving an expensive car. Not an excuse, but we know the perception is when you see a young African-American man driving an expensive car, it throws up a flag, period. It's just the world we live in. Being in compliance with the police is and I think that had he de-escalated some things, he could have got out of there quicker. Because at the end of the day, the first thing that the police have to do is they have to control the scene. You can't control the scene. And when you're saying things like, don't hit on my window and don't do this, you are triggering in them. It's a matter of this. I tell my kids all the time, do you want to be right or you want to go home?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a combination of that. I saw that and I was like, he was speeding. So he knew he was wrong and he knew he was late. He didn't deny that shouldn't get the ticket or any of those things. I think the thing that some people was like, Tyreek needed to change his behavior. I say both. Tyreek needed to change his behavior. The police officer, I think, went too far. The other piece was y'all was in the Miami Dolphins lot. Y'all was at the football stadium.
And it's Tyreek Hill.
Right. And let's be real. It's like, I'm not saying that he get a pass because he's a football player, but I'm like, what I am saying is like, y'all already know who it was. He was like, okay. He didn't say I ain't did. He didn't say I ain't do nothing. He just said, can you give him a ticket? I'm already late.
But it goes back to the fact that things always get escalated when it's African Americans involved. It always get escalated. Because I seen a lady on Facebook that was getting a ticket and she was telling police what she ain't gonna do and this, that, and other. They was like, yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. This, that, and the other. You know this is Tyreek Hill. You know that there's a football game going on. You know that he's in a hurry. And at the end of the day, he was going to get a ticket.
Right. So and he was ready to get his ticket.
Die or get beat up to get a ticket at the end of the day. Because they say, oh, well, now you resist arrest. But you're wrong in the way that you're going about it. So Tyreek Hill was wrong, and I get it. And I do say there's some wrong. But did he have to be thrown on the ground? Right. Was he that big a threat?
But one of the things that they also said, so the police officer is, of course, on administrative leave because they supervisors realized that he went too far. They allowed their ego to get in the way. The other piece of it is Tyreek said in the news conference after they won the game, because they did that when
they won the game. He scored a touchdown. He did the cup behind the back dance.
Right. He won the game, and he said two things. He said, but if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, what would happen?
Yeah, would have won.
And then he said the second thing is he was like, I'm a trained police. He said, I'm a trained peace officer. He said, when I finish NFL, I want to be a police officer. I want to work in the community. So he was like, what are you teaching other young people or people who may even want to get into this work? And how are you souring it for them? And so it was just like, it was a lot of things that I think we need to, I know the main thing we always go through is police brutality. We go through racism, we go through things, but we also have to think about twofold. What are the messages that are we sending our people across the board about non-respect, different things across the board? How do we work together? How do we have compassion? How do we have grace? because you want to give respect, but can we also be respectful in the same
it
same
amazes
game?
me,
And
like,
because we're teaching our children that you need to be respectful, and then when they're disrespected, sometimes they don't know how to handle it, because it's like, well, I was taught to be respectful, and then if you're not respectful to me, like, how do I handle this?
right. And the thing about it is, with our young people, I believe that there are a universe of people who trigger because they know that when the police come up on you, you're going to have a fight or fight response,
Mhm.
right? It's just basic. And I think some people use that intentionally to instigate situations, to show that they have control, right? Here's the African American man, obviously very wealthy, very rich, police officer having a power struggle, a power dynamic there. He's on Miami property, and it escalates, and it happens over and over again. But whereas you take a situation in that same county, when you had the Zimmerman guy who shot
Thank you. Thank you. The young
the
man,
young man,
Trayvon,
when he was arrested, he was not treated like that.
not even
And he
close.
had killed somebody, but yet still somebody who has a traffic incident gets killed. And it happens over and over. It's not one time. It's happening over and over and over and over and over again. And it's like, okay, enough. But I do want to get to our relationship topic. We only got 10 minutes to go. So what is our relationship topic
So our
today?
relationship topics today, what are the things that women and men need in their relationships?
Oh, okay.
And so what really prompted me is that I was just thinking about, as you know, as I said, those of y'all, a happy life. I said recently in one of my posts that, we going into cuffing season. And then this Don said, yes, cuffing season is here. And those of you who don't know what cuffing season means is that just like when it get cold outside, if you have your boo, your significant other, you spend more time, it's more cozy time. Y'all get into the season where y'all, spend a lot of time, do indoor type stuff, and use a lot of time together, except for when, the summertime, y'all out and about. So as we getting ready to go into this season, just really thinking about, like, if you're in the process, if you're in a relationship and you want it to grow, you want it to be strengthened and so forth, are you really thinking about what it is that your mate really needs? Because I think a lot of times we think that it's the material things, but for me, what I'm starting to clearly understand and realize that, somebody who said recently, once you get to a certain age, all the material things, that's not really, it's okay. You're grateful for it, but it's not the thing that fuels you. Whereas the respect, communication, having true intimacy, companionship, strong prayer life, being able to have someone that you can talk to and have those difficult conversations with, and be like, okay, I said some stuff, you said some stuff. Are we good? And not being able to walk off and be like, I'm not talking anymore, and silent treatments and all those other different pieces. And so it really made me really think about, like, how do we help people as we get ready to go into cuffing season to be stronger? Because you're gonna spend a little bit more time together because it's gonna be cold outside. How do you build during this time and this season? And so really thinking about, like, what do you really need? Oh, thank you, Franklin. He's a great show. But what is it that you really need? And making sure that you think about that. Because I think a lot of times we get in relationships, we get a little lazy. We get to this point where it's like, oh, we good. But are you?
Yeah, I think that, you have to be with somebody that you like, because you're going to be spending a lot more time indoors and in quiet settings. And what does that look like, right? So that's going to be a test to the relationship right there, because one of the things is, do you like being around each other, right? So there are, and then also the lack of that might be triggering to me. So people have to figure out how they're going to interact in this space, and what does that look like? Do they do events together? Do they spend time together, things like that, and meeting each other needs? Again, I am a big proponent or believer in attachment styles. And so with attachment styles, you have to make sure that you're partnered up with somebody who complements your attachment styles, which organically is just the opposite. Most people are attracted to people who have a opposing. I mean, like when they interacting and dating, they tend to be attracted to people who has an opposing attachment style.
Then they
And
do.
so what happens is they go through these series of relationships, and then they have issues around it rather than get somebody who is attached. So you got to say, do we like spending time together? How do we entertain each other? How do we support each other? How do we build in space with each other?
Yeah.
So all those things are important in quote unquote cuffing season. So what suggestions would you have for people in this season?
Well, one of the things that I was he said you got to get we get complacent and too comfortable. You're right about that, Franklin. But what I think is key, I think it's key and important as you get ready to go into cuffing season. Really thinking about, we always talk about the 5 things that you need to have a thriving relationship. Time by yourself, time with the Lord, time with each other, time with family, time with friends. You need that balance. So you still need to be able to do that during this time. But you also need to think about, like, what are some of the new things that you all can do? Because it's one of those things that, new is, don't make it so that it's that it gets boring. You want to do it some excitement. So do y'all want to do game night? Do y'all want to, you in football, y'all want to do football, or basketball season will be coming up soon, but like just making sure that you find things to do to enjoy each other's company, going for a walk and all this stuff. It's gonna be cold, y'all can still go. Do we go to the gym and go work out together? All these other different things. And then of course, me and Bishop always talk about the little things. What are the little things that you can do to show your appreciation? Because when you're in the space together, spend a lot of time together, the person still wants to be appreciated and so forth. And as we get ready to go through the holidays, sometimes that can be really stressful or it can be really joyous. Find out what that medium is and what it is that they need. And then the number one thing is support each other.
Absolutely. And also it has to be intentional. A lot of times people wait for things to happen organically, but sometimes you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional on dates, on having date nights, and be intentional on planning things to do to keep the relationship moving forward and finding quality time, right? We work and things going on. So finding quality time is a challenge. And so it might not be the abundance of time, but what's the quality of time together when you are together? Do things that you can share, like binge watching a movie.
Right.
Binge watching. I'm just now watching Power, the last 4 episodes of Power, things like that to keep each other engaged. How do we pour into each other, right? So it's difficult if you're in a relationship and one person is downloading all the time. So you have to have that balance where you are pouring into each other. And that's important. Being with somebody who's compatible, that you like talking to, and you can talk 2 hours on the phone with them and be like, we were talking for 2 hours and so those are things that we need to teach. One of the things that sometimes stresses me, I don't want to take too much time, but one of the things that stresses me about Christians is that we tend to not have good relationships.
Yep. Because we as the word of God say, don't be so wholly bound, earthly good. And what I mean by that is that we need to take the step back and look at how we engage with others. It's so funny. God has really been working with me and showing me that so many of us, as we evangelize and we minister to different people, we come off as arrogant. We come off as know-it-alls. We come off as we got it right, not empathetic. And we got to go back to the time when we was dirty, when we was in a sinful place. We got to go back, and not saying like going back and doing those things, but going back and having the heart of understanding that when you just wanted somebody to just pray with you, when you just wanted somebody to encourage you, when you just wanted somebody to see you and understand you.
Have discipleship.
Right.
Whoa, where does the time go? We got a minute and a half. I'm going to just wrap it up really quickly. Bishop Sherman Henderson, Senior Pastor, Revival and Land Missionary Baptist Church, located at 9134 South on Cottage Grove Avenue. You can join us on Sunday service every Sunday at 11 o'clock. Look for us soon with our rollout of our media ministry, and we pray that you would come by and stop and see us.
Yes, and as we always say, don't meet us there, beat us there. Thank you for joining us this Saturday morning. You could be doing anything with your Saturday, and you chose to spend it with us. So we are always grateful and welcome, and we'll see you next week, everybody.
God bless you. Heaven smile upon you.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through Christ, WBTC Allsip Chicago, an iNetworks communication station.